My name is Jordan Chin, and I've spent the last 8 years being my family's greatest disappointment. Started when I dropped out of medical school halfway through my second year. My parents had immigrated from Taiwan in the 1980s, built a successful restaurant supply business, and raised 3 children with one very clear expectation: become a doctor, lawyer, or engineer. Preferably a doctor. My older cousin David was a cardiologist at Johns Hopkins. Cousin Michelle was a partner at a corporate law firm in Boston. Cousin Robert was a neurosurgeon. Cousin Amy was a federal prosecutor. The list went on. 12 cousins, all with advanced degrees, all with impressive titles, all making our family proud. And then there was me. I'd gotten into Stanford Medical School, which made my parents ecstatic. For exactly 18 months. Then I'd walked away. I don't want to be a doctor, I'd told my father over dinner one night. The silence that followed was deafening. What do you mean you don't want to be a doctor? My mother finally asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I mean, I hate it. I'm miserable. I can't spend the next 40 years doing something that makes me this unhappy. My father set down his chopsticks carefully. Do you know how many people would kill for your opportunity? Do you know what we sacrificed to get you here? I know, Dad. But. No buts. You finish medical school. You become a doctor. Then you can be unhappy if you want. But I didn't finish. I withdrew the next day. My parents didn't speak to me for 6 months. When they finally did, it was to inform me that I was no longer welcome at family gatherings until I figured out my life. That was 8 years ago. In the years that followed, I became the cautionary tale at every family dinner. The example of wasted potential. The reminder of what happens when you don't follow the plan. Did you hear Jordan is still doing that computer thing? My aunt would say, her voice dripping with pity. Such a shame, someone else would add. All that intelligence wasted. My mother would nod sadly as if I'd died instead of just choosing a different career path. What they didn't know, what I deliberately kept from them, was that computer thing had turned into something extraordinary. After dropping out of med school, I'd moved to Austin, Texas. I chose Austin specifically because it was far from family, affordable, and rapidly becoming a tech hub. I had an idea. During medical school, I'd noticed how inefficient hospital supply chain management was. Hospitals were overpaying for basic supplies, dealing with constant shortages and drowning in paperwork. The system was broken. I spent 6 months building a software platform that used AI to optimize hospital supply ordering. It predicted needs based on patient flow, seasonal trends, and historical data. It automated ordering, negotiated bulk pricing, and reduced waste. I called it MedFlow. My first customer was a small community hospital in Texas that was drowning in supply costs. I gave them a 3-month free trial. After 3 months, they'd reduced supply costs by 34% and eliminated stockouts completely. They signed a 3-year contract. Then they told their network. Within 6 months, I had 12 hospitals using MedFlow. Within a year, I had 50. I hired 2 developers from UT Austin, a sales director who'd worked in medical software, and a customer success manager. We operated out of a small office in East Austin. Revenue hit $2.8 million in year 1. Year 2, we expanded to 180 hospitals. Revenue hit $12 million. Year 3, we raised our first round of venture capital, $15 million from a Silicon Valley firm that specialized in healthcare technology. Year 4, we had 400 hospitals across 12 states. Revenue hit $47 million. By year 5, MedFlow was processing over $2.3 billion in annual hospital supply orders. We'd expanded into surgery scheduling optimization, pharmacy inventory management, and staffing predictions. We had 850 employees across 4 offices. Our most recent valuation after our Series C funding round was $680 million. I own 62% of the company. Forbes had profiled me 8 months ago. The medical school dropout saving hospitals $1.2 billion annually. The article detailed my journey from Stanford dropout to CEO, complete with photos of our Austin headquarters and testimonials from hospital administrators. Business Insider followed up with how one founder is revolutionizing healthcare without being a doctor. They'd interviewed me extensively about my philosophy. You don't need to be inside the system to fix it. Sometimes being outside gives you clearer perspective. 3 weeks ago, I'd been invited to speak at the National Healthcare Conference in Chicago. My keynote address on supply chain innovation had been attended by 2,000 healthcare executives. 2 weeks ago, the mayor of Austin had called me personally. Jordan, we're hosting the annual Innovation Gala on Saturday, September 16th. It's our city's biggest celebration of entrepreneurship and economic development. I'd like to present you with the Entrepreneur of the Decade award. I'd been stunned. Mayor Rodriguez, I'm honored, but there are so many other deserving. Jordan, your company has brought 850 jobs to Austin. You've attracted over $100 million in venture capital to our city. You're revolutionizing healthcare. This isn't charity, you've earned this. The gala was black tie invitation only, attended by every major business leader in Austin, the governor, 3 congresspeople, and media from across Texas. It was also scheduled for the exact same evening as my family's reunion in San Francisco. The text from my mother came on Monday, 6 days before both events. Family reunion this Saturday, September 16th at Uncle Way's house. 6 p.m. Everyone will be there. I stared at the message. After 8 years of being excluded, they were inviting me? I replied, I'll need to check my schedule. Her response was immediate. It's not optional, Jordan. This is family. I didn't respond right away. Instead, I called my assistant, Maya. The Innovation Gala is definitely this Saturday, correct? Yes, 7 p.m. at the Four Seasons. The mayor's office confirmed this morning that you're receiving the Entrepreneur of the Decade award. It's going to be televised locally and streamed nationally. Press credentials have been issued to Bloomberg, TechCrunch, and the Austin American-Statesman. Thank you, Maya. I texted my mother back. I have a work commitment Saturday evening. I might not be able to make it. The response came 2 hours later, this time a phone call. Jordan, your cousin David is flying in from Baltimore. Michelle is coming from Boston. This is the first time the whole family has been together in 5 years. You need to be there. Mom, I have an important event. More important than family? This is exactly why everyone worries about you. You've been doing that computer job for 8 years now. When are you going to settle down and get a real career? Mom, I have a career. Coding websites isn't a career, Jordan. It's a hobby. Your cousins are saving lives, defending justice. What are you doing? Playing with computers. I took a deep breath. I can't make it Saturday. I'm sorry. Can't or won't? Can't. There was a long pause. Then her voice changed, becoming colder. Your Aunt Nancy has been asking about you. I've been too embarrassed to tell her the truth, that you're almost 35 and still doing freelance computer work. Your cousins have accomplished so much. David just became department chair. Michelle made partner. And you're still, wherever you are, doing whatever it is you do. I'm in Austin, Mom. I've been here for 8 years. Yes, hiding. That's what it looks like from here. Hiding because you're ashamed of how your life turned out. I almost laughed. Almost. I'm not hiding, Mom. Then prove it. Come to the reunion. Face your family. Show them you're doing okay even if you're not a doctor. I told you I have a work commitment. Jordan. Her voice was sharp now. Your Aunt Nancy specifically asked me to make sure you don't come. I went silent. She said having you there would be uncomfortable. All your cousins are bringing their accomplishments, their awards, their stories. And you'd be there with, what? Some coding projects? It would just highlight the contrast. So you're uninviting me? I'm suggesting that maybe it's better if you sit this one out. Let the successful members of the family celebrate. You can come to the next one after you've figured things out. After I've figured things out, I repeated slowly. Yes. Maybe get a real job. Or go back to school. Something we can be proud of. I see. It's for the best, Jordan. Trust me. Why put yourself through the embarrassment of standing next to doctors and lawyers when you're just not at that level? I looked at my calendar. The Innovation Gala stared back at me. You're right, Mom, I said quietly. I shouldn't come to the reunion. Thank you for understanding. I have a work thing anyway. It's pretty important. That's fine, dear. Focus on your little computer projects. Maybe one day they'll turn into something real. After we hung up, I sat in my office for a long time looking out over downtown Austin. Our office occupied 2 floors of a high-rise on Congress Avenue. Through the window I could see the Texas State Capitol building. My phone buzzed. A text from my mom to the family group chat that I was still, somehow, included in. Jordan won't be attending the reunion. He has work commitments. More room for everyone else. Smiling face with smiling eyes. My cousin David responded, that's probably for the best. More space for those of us who've actually accomplished something. Michelle added, is he still doing that computer thing? So sad. Robert, maybe he'll figure it out eventually. We can't all be high achievers. I muted the group chat and called Maya. The speech for Saturday, I want to revise it. Revise how? I want to add a personal story. About family expectations, about choosing your own path, about success looking different than you planned. That sounds powerful. Send me your thoughts and I'll help you structure it. That evening I went for a run along Lady Bird Lake. The Austin skyline reflected in the water, beautiful and vibrant. The city had given me everything. The space to build, the community to support me, the freedom to fail and succeed on my own terms. My family had written me off 8 years ago. They'd decided I was a failure before I'd even begun. Saturday night they'd find out just how wrong they'd been. By Thursday my revised speech was ready. Maya had helped me structure it perfectly, starting with the personal story of leaving medical school, transitioning into the journey of building MedFlow, and ending with a message about defining success for yourself rather than living up to others' expectations. It's going to make people cry, Maya said after reading the final draft. Good, I said. The mayor's office called to confirm final details. The award presentation would happen at 8:15 p.m. right after dinner. I'd be introduced by Mayor Rodriguez herself. The presentation would be broadcast live on local news and streamed on the city's website. We're expecting significant media coverage, the mayor's assistant said. This is one of our biggest events of the year. The governor specifically moved his schedule to attend. I'm honored, I said. Friday afternoon I got my hair cut, picked up my custom tuxedo and did a final review of the speech. That evening I had dinner with my executive team, my CTO, CFO and COO. We'd been through everything together. The early struggling years, the sleepless nights fixing bugs, the nerve-wracking investor pitches, the explosive growth. Tomorrow's going to be big, my CTO Sarah said. You deserve this, Jordan. We all deserve this, I corrected. None of this happens without the team. True, but you're the one who had the guts to walk away from medical school when everyone told you were crazy, my CFO Marcus added. You're the one who believed in this when it was just an idea. I smiled. Thanks, guys. That night I checked the family group chat. Photos were being shared from the reunion preparations. My aunt's house being decorated, tables being set up, my cousins arriving from across the country. My cousin David posted a photo of his newest award, Department Chair of Cardiology at Johns Hopkins. Grateful for this honor. Michelle posted a photo in front of her law firm. Making partner was a dream come true. Hard work pays off. My mother commented on each photo. So proud. Our family is so accomplished. Someone, I think it was my Aunt Nancy, posted, everyone's here except Jordan. But that's okay. We have enough high achievers for one room. Face with tears of joy. 13 people liked the comment. I turned off my phone and went to bed. Saturday evening I arrived at the Four Seasons at 6:30 p.m. The ballroom was spectacular. Crystal chandeliers, round tables with elegant centerpieces, a stage with massive screens on either side. The guest list was a who's who of Austin business. Tech CEOs, venture capitalists, real estate developers, the governor, 3 congresspeople and Mayor Rodriguez herself. Maya met me at the entrance. You look sharp. Ready for this? Ready, I said. The cocktail hour was a whirlwind of conversations. I spoke with the governor about healthcare policy reform, with a venture capitalist about our next funding round, with a hospital CEO about expanding MedFlow to their 12-hospital system. At 7:15 we were called to dinner. I was seated at the head table with the mayor, the governor and several city council members. Jordan, Mayor Rodriguez said warmly, I've been looking forward to this all week. Your story is exactly what this city is about. Innovation, determination and impact. Thank you, Mayor. Austin has been incredible to me. And you've been incredible for Austin. 850 jobs, $100 million in capital investment, and you're revolutionizing healthcare. We're lucky to have you. Across the city, I knew my family's reunion was starting. They'd be gathering at my uncle's house, sharing stories about their accomplishments, congratulating each other on their success. and talking about how sad it was that Jordan never figured his life out. Dinner was served. A beautiful meal that I barely tasted because I was reviewing my speech in my head, making sure every word was exactly right. At 8:10 the lights dimmed. The screens on either side of the stage lit up with the Austin City seal. Mayor Rodriguez stepped to the podium. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us at the 10th Annual Austin Innovation Gala. Tonight we celebrate the entrepreneurs, innovators and visionaries who make our city extraordinary. She spoke for several minutes about Austin's growth, about the importance of supporting entrepreneurs, about the impact of innovation on the local economy. Then she shifted gears. Our Entrepreneur of the Decade award is given to someone who embodies the spirit of Austin. Someone who took a risk, built something meaningful and created lasting impact. This year's recipient did something remarkable. They walked away from a guaranteed prestigious career to chase an idea that everyone said wouldn't work. On the screens a photo appeared. Me 8 years ago in a tiny office with a whiteboard covered in diagrams. Jordan Chin dropped out of Stanford Medical School to build software that would optimize hospital supply chains. Family and friends told them they were crazy. They built it anyway. Another photo appeared. Our first office in East Austin. Just me and 2 developers crammed into a small space. From that small office, Jordan built MedFlow, a company that now serves over 400 hospitals, employs 850 people here in Austin, and saves the American healthcare system over $1.2 billion annually. More photos. Our team growing, our office expanding, hospitals signing contracts. MedFlow is now valued at $680 million. It has attracted over $100 million in venture capital to Austin. It has created hundreds of high-paying jobs. And it's revolutionizing how hospitals operate across America. The photos shifted to recent press coverage. The Forbes profile, the Business Insider article, screenshots of my keynote at the National Healthcare Conference. But beyond the numbers, Jordan represents something essential. The courage to define success on your own terms. To trust your vision even when others doubt you. To build something meaningful instead of something expected. Mayor Rodriguez paused, letting the words sink in. Please join me in welcoming to the stage our Entrepreneur of the Decade, Jordan Chin. The ballroom erupted in applause. I stood, straightened my tuxedo and walked to the stage. The mayor handed me a beautiful crystal award. We shook hands. Cameras flashed from every direction. The live stream was broadcasting this to thousands of viewers. Including, I realized with sudden clarity, probably someone at my family's reunion. Austin was a major city. This was a major event. The local news would be covering it. Business networks would pick it up. Someone would see. I stepped to the podium and took a breath. Thank you, Mayor Rodriguez, and thank you to everyone here tonight. This award is incredibly meaningful to me and I want to share why. I launched into my speech exactly as I'd practiced it. 8 years ago I made a decision that disappointed everyone who loved me. I dropped out of medical school. My parents didn't speak to me for 6 months. My extended family treated me like a cautionary tale. I was supposed to be a doctor and instead I became, what? A dropout. A failure. A disappointment. I could see people leaning forward, completely focused. I moved to Austin because I needed space to figure out who I was outside of other people's expectations. I had an idea, a possibly crazy idea, about fixing hospital supply chains. I didn't have a business degree. I didn't have experience in healthcare administration. I just had a problem I wanted to solve. On the screens behind me, photos of MedFlow's early days played. The first year was brutal. I lived in a tiny apartment, ate ramen more days than not, and worked 16-hour days building software I wasn't sure anyone would want. My family thought I was wasting my life. My former classmates were becoming doctors. And I was coding in a small office hoping I wasn't making a massive mistake. I paused, letting the vulnerability sit. But something happened. The software worked. Hospitals started using it. Lives improved. Not because I was in the operating room but because I was in the server room. Patients got better care because their hospitals had better systems. Healthcare workers had less stress because the logistics ran smoother. Money was saved that could be spent on actual patient care. The audience was completely silent. I learned something important. There are many ways to make a difference. Being a doctor wasn't my way. Building technology that helps doctors. That was my way. And it took me dropping out of the path everyone expected to find the path I was meant for. I looked directly at the camera broadcasting the event. To everyone watching who feels like a disappointment because you chose a different path, you're not a failure. You're a pioneer. To everyone who's been told their dreams aren't practical or prestigious enough, don't listen. To everyone who's been excluded from the table because you don't fit the traditional definition of success, build your own table. The room erupted in applause, but I wasn't finished. This award isn't just mine. It belongs to the 850 people who work at MedFlow. It belongs to the hospitals that took a chance on an unproven product from an unknown company. It belongs to the venture capitalists who believed in the vision. And it belongs to the city of Austin, which gave a medical school dropout the space to become something else entirely. I raised the Crystal Award. Thank you for this incredible honor. Thank you for celebrating success that looks different than expected. And thank you for proving that sometimes the best way to heal the world isn't by following the prescription, it's by writing a new one. The standing ovation lasted 2 full minutes. As I walked off the stage, my phone, which I'd silenced but could still see, was lighting up like a Christmas tree. Text after text after text after text. Maya intercepted me as I left the stage. Jordan, you need to see this. She held up her phone. Twitter was exploding with clips from my speech. Hashtag Entrepreneur of the Decade was trending. The Forbes verified account had tweeted, medical school dropout to $680 million company at Jordan Chin's inspiring speech at Austin Innovation Gala is a must-watch. TechCrunch had already published an article. MedFlow CEO Jordan Chin receives Austin's Entrepreneur of the Decade award, delivers powerful speech about defying expectations. Bloomberg was running a live segment about the award. And then I saw it, a text from my cousin Michelle, the lawyer. Jordan, please call me immediately. Followed by one from David, the cardiologist. Is this real? Are you really CEO of a $680 million company? From my mother, Jordan. Call me now. From my Aunt Nancy, why didn't you tell us? From the family group chat, 47 unread messages. I didn't open any of them. Instead, I returned to my table where the governor was waiting. That was one hell of a speech, he said, shaking my hand firmly. We need more entrepreneurs like you in Texas. The rest of the evening was a blur of congratulations, business card exchanges, and networking. A venture capital firm wanted to discuss a potential partnership. 2 hospital systems wanted to explore pilot programs. A technology journalist wanted an exclusive interview about my journey from medical school to startup success. At 11 p.m. as the gala was winding down, I finally checked my phone. My mother had called 14 times. The family group chat had 89 new messages. I had voicemails from 6 different relatives. I scrolled through the group chat messages. Michelle, everyone stop talking. I just saw Jordan on the news. Jordan is CEO of a company worth $680 million. David, that's impossible. Jordan does freelance coding. Robert, I'm looking at the Bloomberg article right now. Real. Jordan owns 62% of a company valued at $680 million. My Aunt Nancy, this must be a mistake. My mother, I'm calling him now. Then after my mother presumably couldn't reach me. Jordan isn't answering. Why isn't he answering? And finally, the most recent message from my Aunt Nancy. We told him not to come to the reunion because he'd be embarrassing. He was receiving an award from the mayor. What have we done? I pocketed my phone and walked out to the hotel terrace, where the city lights of Austin spread out before me like a constellation. Maya found me there 20 minutes later. Your family, she asked. They're figuring some things out, I said. Are you going to call them back? Eventually, I said. But not tonight. Tonight is for celebrating. Sunday morning, I woke to 127 text messages, 31 missed calls, and 19 voicemails. I ignored all of them and went for a run. When I returned, Maya had forwarded me the morning's media coverage. The award ceremony had been covered by every major business publication. My speech had been clipped and shared over 400,000 times across social media platforms. 3 different motivational Instagram accounts had turned quotes from my speech into graphics. The dropout who built a $680 million empire was trending on LinkedIn. At 10 a.m. my mother called again. This time I answered. Jordan. Her voice was strained. We need to talk. Hello, Mom. Why didn't you tell us? About your company? About your success? About any of this? I sat down on my couch, looking out over the Austin skyline. You never asked, I said simply. We asked about your work all the time. No, you made assumptions about my work. You called it that computer thing, and freelance coding, and told me to get a real job. You never once asked what I actually did. You could have told us anyway. Could I? Every time I mentioned my company, you dismissed it. Every time I talked about my work, you compared me to my cousins and found me lacking. You uninvited me from the reunion because I'd be embarrassing next to the doctors and lawyers. Silence. Jordan, we didn't know. Exactly. You didn't know because you didn't want to know. You'd already decided I was a failure. You'd already written the story where I was the disappointment. Actually, learning about my life would have complicated that narrative. That's not fair. Mom, you told me to get a real career. I have 850 employees. You told me I was wasting my potential. I'm saving hospitals over $1 billion a year. You told me I should be ashamed. The mayor just gave me Entrepreneur of the Decade. I could hear her crying softly on the other end. Your Aunt Nancy feels terrible, she said finally. Everyone does. We watched the ceremony at the reunion. Someone had the local news on and suddenly you were on the screen and everyone just stopped. We watched your whole speech. Jordan, it was beautiful. Thank you. We want to make this right. Can you come to dinner? We can celebrate properly. Everyone wants to congratulate you. Everyone wants to be associated with my success now, I corrected gently. Where was that energy 8 years ago? You were dropping out of medical school. I was choosing a different path. You could have supported that. You could have been curious instead of judgmental. You could have asked about my dreams instead of insisting on yours. More silence. What do you want from us? She finally asked. I don't want anything from you, Mom. That's what I've been trying to tell you. I built this without your support, without your approval, without your presence. I'm not angry, I'm just done needing you to validate me. Jordan. I need to go, Mom. I have a board meeting tomorrow morning. Will you at least think about dinner? Please. I'll think about it. I hung up. Over the next few days the messages continued. My cousins, the doctors and lawyers who'd mocked me in the group chat, were suddenly very interested in reconnecting. David wanted to discuss MedFlow's healthcare applications and potentially collaborate. Michelle wanted to connect me with her firm's corporate clients who might need my software. Robert wanted to invest in MedFlow. Amy, the federal prosecutor, wanted to introduce me to her husband who was in finance. Each message followed the same pattern. Brief apology for misunderstanding my career, followed by lengthy explanation of how they could now help me now that I was successful. I responded to none of them. What I did respond to were the hundreds of messages from strangers. People who'd seen my speech and been inspired. College students who were afraid to disappoint their parents. Mid-career professionals considering major changes. Other entrepreneurs who'd been dismissed by their families. I spent hours responding to those messages, offering encouragement, sharing advice, connecting people with resources. Because that was the point of the speech. Not to shame my family, but to encourage everyone else who'd been made to feel small for dreaming differently. 6 weeks later I was back in my office when Maya knocked on my door. You have a visitor, she said. Your mother. I looked up surprised. She's here? In Austin. Downstairs in the lobby. She said she'd wait as long as necessary. I thought about it for a moment then nodded. Send her up. My mother appeared 5 minutes later looking smaller than I remembered. Older. She carried a large envelope. Thank you for seeing me, she said quietly. Would you like to sit? I gestured to the chairs in front of my desk. She sat looking around my office. The framed Forbes cover, the Business Insider article, the awards on the shelf, the view of downtown Austin through the floor-to-ceiling windows. This is impressive, she said. Thank you. Jordan, I owe you an apology. A real one, not the kind I can send in a text. She took a breath. I was wrong. About everything. I was so focused on the path I wanted for you that I couldn't see the path you were actually on. I made you feel like a failure when you were building something extraordinary. I nodded, waiting. I brought you something. She opened the envelope and pulled out a newspaper clipping. It was yellowed with age. An article from a Taiwanese newspaper from 1983. This is about your father and me when we first came to America. We had nothing. I had a degree in chemical engineering from Taiwan. Your father had a degree in physics. But when we got here, no one would hire us. We were too foreign, too risky. So we started the restaurant supply business from nothing. She looked up at me, her eyes wet. Everyone told us we were wasting our education. Our parents back in Taiwan were devastated. We were supposed to be scientists, and instead we were selling kitchen equipment. But we built something. We created something from nothing. And then somewhere along the way I forgot what that felt like. I forgot what it means to choose your own path. She handed me the clipping. I turned into the person who would have told us we were failures. I became the voice of expectation instead of the voice of support. I'm sorry, Jordan. I'm so deeply sorry. I took the clipping, studying my parents' young faces in the photo. Thank you for this, I said quietly. And thank you for the apology. I don't expect you to forgive me right away, or maybe ever. But I want you to know I'm proud of you. Not because you're successful, though you are, but because you had the courage to disappoint me. That took more strength than I gave you credit for. We sat in silence for a moment. Would you like a tour of the office? Asked finally. Her face lit up. I would love that. I showed her everything. The development floor where engineers built the software, the customer success department where teams helped hospitals, the conference room where we'd closed our Series C funding, the wall of thank you letters from hospital administrators whose operations had been transformed. We got one last week from a rural hospital in Montana, I told her. They wrote that our software helped them stay open during a critical shortage. They served 20,000 people in an area with no other hospital within 60 miles. Without MedFlow, they would have closed. My mother read the letter, tears streaming down her face. You're saving lives, she whispered. Just not the way I expected. Different path, same destination, I said. Before she left, she hugged me tightly. Will you come to Thanksgiving? She asked. Not as a show of success, not to prove anything. Just as my son. I'll think about it, I said honestly. That's all I can ask. After she left, I stood by my office window for a long time. My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah, my CTO. The hospital system in California just signed. All 12 locations. $8.7 million contract. I smiled and typed back, excellent work. Tell the team I'm buying lunch tomorrow. That evening I went to my favorite taco place in East Austin. The same place I'd eaten at least twice a week during those early, struggling years. The owner, Maria, greeted me with a huge smile. I saw you on TV, she said. The mayor's award. Jordan, I'm so proud. Thanks, Maria. You remember when you used to come in here and work on your laptop for hours? I used to worry you weren't eating enough. I laughed. I remember. You used to give me extra chips. Because you were too skinny. And now look at you, entrepreneur of the decade. I ordered my usual and sat at my usual table, the same one I'd sat at hundreds of times when I was building MedFlow from nothing. My phone buzzed. An email from Forbes. We'd like to interview you for our cover story on healthcare innovation. Another email from the governor's office. Would you consider serving on the state's Healthcare Innovation Council? Another from a venture capital firm. We'd like to discuss investing in MedFlow's Series D round. I set my phone down and looked around the small taco restaurant. This place had been here for me when nothing else was. When my family had written me off, when the future was uncertain, when success was just a maybe. Success hadn't changed me. It had revealed me. I wasn't a disappointment who got lucky. I was an entrepreneur who'd been underestimated. I wasn't a dropout who settled. I was a visionary who chose a different path. And I wasn't embarrassing. I never had been. My family had finally figured that out. But I'd known it all along. My tacos arrived and I ate slowly, savoring every bite, looking out at the Austin sunset painting the sky in brilliant colors. I'd come to this city 8 years ago as a medical school dropout with an idea and a dream. I was leaving here. Well, I wasn't leaving. I was staying. This was home. And home, I'd learned, isn't where people accept you. Home is where you accept yourself.